Hello friends, we are going on another road trip in the island of Trinidad, which makes up part of the country Trinidad and Tobago. There are islands in the Caribbean. We're just focusing on Trinidad and a place called Belmont. You can see where I'm driving there on the map. That's the general area that I'll be going into. Right now we are around the Queen's Park Savannah, which is a very large park, about 2.4 miles around it. Of course, as you know, um, this is all provided to you free, but it takes a lot of work. Make sure to share the love by contributing on my website. You could go to jbmancave.com or jboard.com, and there's a donation button there. You can always contribute towards the work that I do here. So in this drive, we'll be covering what is a legacy area for the country. Belmont has been around since the early days of Trinidad. It was considered one of the well-to-do areas. Not quite anymore, but one of the things Belmont is known for is its very narrow roads, as you're going to see now. And you might think, wow, they still park cars even though the roads are so narrow. Yes, well, this is Trinidad, so they do that sort of thing. But here's one of the even more narrow roads. And I mean, I can't cover all of Belmont because Belmont is riddled with all kinds of lanes and arteries that look just like this. It would take me a long time to record it all, but I got most of it so that you could get a general gist of Belmont. Now, I really, in my mind, I don't think whomever decided to do the city planning when Belmont thought of cars. I think they mostly thought of people just walking from here into Port of Spain proper, or people with bicycles or whatever. I can't imagine that, there was future minds thinking about, oh, maybe cars and trucks may want to pass here because it's so narrow. If I made a little wrong turn, maybe by a bit, I could go into one of the walls easily. I can't imagine any truck bigger than mine fitting through there. So you'll notice that a lot of the houses are still from that way back when time in their design. Modernization in Belmont doesn't happen a lot, and when it does, it's usually based on some kind of government or commercial intervention. For instance, that apartment building across there is pretty modern, but the rest of it around, as you can see, is not. It still maintains the kind of look and design from way back when. And I mean, it's, you know, really, if a car was coming around that corner, assuming this is two-way, you would really be in a bind because somebody would have to back up because there's no way you can squeeze past somebody else in a lot of these lanes. And sometimes you'll see me slowing down because I was thinking of which way to go. Now, this trip took me 4 days. And when I say 4 days, not 4 days of consecutive driving, but it's recorded over the period of 4 days. A bit here, taking one route, then another route, and so forth. So you'll see different footage on different days, covering different parts of Belmont. Hopefully that will give you more or less the majority of Belmont. Like I said, there are so many turn-off lanes and places you could go, you could hardly cover it all. You can see some of the old houses of back in the day on the left and right. And you can see how close they were built to the wall. Again, I don't know what went into the planning, but a lot of these houses weren't built with the idea that they would facilitate a vehicle or vehicles. So this video comes out to you during Christmas time. It's sort of my gift to my fans of those who are interested in the Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago. I know you all thought maybe, oh, because I released the long 3 hours and 20-minute Diego Martin video, I wouldn't release any more for a while, but you're wrong. I'm bringing them out for you. And again, I hope that you would subscribe if you haven't. It's free. Just hit the subscribe button. And make sure to tell your friends about JB's Man Cave. I'm still surprised how many people still stumble across my videos and are like, oh, I just found you. I have coming on to 2,500 videos on my channel. And a lot of people, when they comment like if I just came or I just started, or, you know, they're giving me tips like if I'm new to YouTube. And I don't mind tips and all that, but really they don't understand what the channel is about. They start saying I should do this or I should do that. But please do look at the description of the video. Look over my channel, try to understand what it's about, and most of all, why I create these videos. A lot of people have varying opinions of why I do this. Only if you're really interested in knowing about why I do this, you would investigate a little bit, take a little time before suggesting anything. So I'm passing what used to be the Belmont Senior Secondary School. But now I notice it's called the St. Francis Boys. I believe Eric Williams actually attended that school. And correct me if I'm wrong. Now, a lot of you like to class things. And when I say class, you know, like to say whether it is a low class, middle class, high class area, and you always want to talk about the real estate and so forth. And you know, if you're not too familiar with Belmont, you'd be wondering what kind of area is this, or how does it stack up to the rest of Trinidad and Tobago? Um, Belmont is very unique. I guess it would fall into the realms of a lower to middle class neighborhood. But the irony in saying that is that this should really be, Belmont should really be prime real estate. And why I say that is because of its proximity to the savannah. It's so close to the savannah and Port of Spain that every house here should be millions of dollars. But unfortunately, as you see, it has that kind of rundown appearance that, and because the lots of land and the house itself tends to be very small, and I guess people who, if they wanted to buy, they can't see any possible way of doing much development. And because of that, properties there are not expensive, or I should say they're not very expensive, because more or less any real estate anywhere in Trinidad is expensive. But you don't see a lot of infrastructural development. The other thing is that the east side of the savannah doesn't have as nice a reputation as the west side, which has St. Clair and those areas. There's a higher crime rate, and also one of the big problems that Belmont has is a water problem. Water problem in that they do not receive adequate, consistent amount of tap-borne water. So I'm very familiar with the area and that problem. And I don't know if there's been any relief for the people there, but I know it's a constant problem. So we just came out Jerningham Avenue. That building on the left is the Ministry of Health. So you have that massive building there, which I don't know if it's really supposed to symbolize what other than being a huge building. But we go on to day 2. You will notice that I kind of like to start from the same position so you get an idea of where I'm going. Again, we are back at the north end of the savannah. That's the President's grounds on the left and the Queen's Park Savannah is on the right. Now, if I was to go into the left lane and turn left, I would be going into a place called St. Anne's. I could also get into Cascade. But in this case, I can also use this roundabout to get into lane for Belmont. On day 1, I did not use this lane. And you see how hard it was for me to get over to the left. So really the proper way to get to Belmont is by using this roundabout so that you don't have to switch many lanes to get across. So it makes it easier. Now that building that we're passing in front of now, it's relatively abandoned. And when I say abandoned, I don't see anybody really doing anything with it, but it has been multi-purpose for a long time. They used to sell ice cream there. It used to be an arcade. It has so many things that went on there, and now it's just doing nothing. The blue building on the left is the Belmont Police Station. And in this particular video in day 2, you'll see that school is out. That school is the Belmont Secondary School. It used to be the Belmont Junior Secondary School and used to be divided into 2 parts, the morning and the afternoon. But I believe they did away with junior secondary schools in Trinidad, so now there's just the secondary school. So this Belmont Circular Road that we are on is like the main road that passes through Belmont, and it is a circle. It makes like a half circle through Belmont and back to the Savannah or to Charlotte Street. So you're seeing Belmont Secondary. Sometimes I will blur because I don't want to pick up school children, really. Their faces, the ones where their backs are turned to the camera, that's fine. So whenever school is out, as you can imagine, there's a lot of traffic here. By the way, if you're not familiar, in Trinidad and Tobago, school children here in the government system use uniforms, part of the British system. Now coming up on the left would be Providence Girls Catholic School, the entrance to it. And then also on the bottom here is a primary school, which would be the Belmont Government Primary. So there are a lot of schools in Belmont, as you can see. Maybe you have went to one of them at one time or the other. So feel free to comment in the comments area and let us know about it. Make sure to be clear as to what you're answering. For instance, don't just blurt out, "Oh, I went to that school." Which school are you talking about? Tell us the whole of it. I went to Providence, or I went to Belmont Secondary, or whatever. You can also use the timeline, not the counter on the top right. The counter on the top right is just a tip for you to find your place. You have to use the YouTube timestamp. It's a button you press and it automatically records where you're talking about in the video. Now this is a good example of how narrow the street is. You can tell from that vehicle up ahead, there is no way any vehicle can pass there. And I was going to go straight, but then they blocked off the road because they're doing works. So now I have to reverse let that car go free, and then hope nobody else is coming out in order to get out of here. You can see up ahead where I believe it's Wassa doing some works. On the mountain area, there would be Lavantil. I mean, that's part of Belmont too, but straight up the mountain would be Lavantil and Mova, that area. And on day 4, I believe, is where I cover coming from that direction. There's actually many access points to Belmont. You can access it from Port of Spain proper, from the Savannah, from Lady Young Road, from Lavantil. So it's not cut off. It's very accessible. So now that that car is passed, you can see where I am now able to go down this road and look at how narrow it is. Can you imagine if you had to move furniture or bring something in? Look at that house. Look at how old it is and the design. That's the old colonial design. Yeah, so if you're moving in the area or whatever, you really can't bring in a long tray truck or container or anything in here. You would have to get a small van or a pickup or something that could pass, because some of these lanes are ridiculously narrow. But in addition to that, the turn is also narrow. So if you had a long bed truck, like a flatbed or whatever, I doubt they could pass there properly. And some of these roads have a steep ascent. So in addition to being narrow, they also ascend up a hill or a mountain. The road we're on, Belmont Circular, you can see it's a little more built up than other areas, and this also is where most people traverse coming in and out of Belmont. Some people will use this to try and bypass traffic. It doesn't always work because sometimes there's more traffic here than anything, but they will tend to cut through Belmont to get to some other part of Port of Spain. So Bakery, the Belmont Bakery, this intersection is like a main point. We're going to turn off here and gradually head back to the Savannah. Now I knew, I should say my father's friend used to live in the back here. His name used to be called George Aitchison. You would have to be really old to know George Aitchison. How many of you know him? He lived on one of these side streets. He used to work at the Guardian newspaper back when my father worked there. He used to like to tell a lot of interesting stories about how it was back in the day. I used to like to hear him. He was also very funny. Now, a lot of the problems with the way things are kept or allowed to be kept is kind of the downfall of society. For me, Belmont should be a tourist attraction. There are a lot of churches here, there are a lot of old buildings. Some of these buildings should be museums. You know, there should be incentive for people to. I mean, really, you should have to incentivize someone to take care of their own property. But I think it's because of the way society is, it's necessary, either by incentive or punishment. And when I say that, I mean enforce the law as far as taking care of your place and whatnot. You can have bush and stuff growing there. That's actually law. You're supposed to cut it and maintain it. And then incentivize by, giving people paint or whatever so they can take care of their property so it can look good. Planting trees, planting shrubs, flowers, whatever. Plus, it's a good way of giving work. If you give a tax break or something, or give paint to people, then they need to hire somebody to paint their house or whatever. But a lot of these structures and these buildings should be something to look at. Tourists come into Belmont a lot. And not because somebody particularly brings them here, but because it's part of Port of Spain, it's near the savannah. And out of curiosity, you always find tourists walking in Belmont. That's the river on the right, by the way. The closer you get to the savannah, which is what Home Avenue is, you start to see the bigger buildings and whatnot. But the deeper you go into Belmont, it's exactly the opposite. And it shouldn't be like that. But again, things have to be taken care of because somebody who does not have access to reliable water supply isn't going to be thinking much about whether their house is painted beautifully or not. They want, water is a basic necessity, and that's again another thing of why there's a lack of progress sometimes in the country. Basic necessities are not met. So people can't think about other things. And as you see too, the amount of trash, look at all that trash strewn about there. A pile of it there on the lower left of your screen, open garbage bag, so many drain. Just as I can see it, just as the camera is picking it up, is the same way tourists and everybody else sees it. It just should not be like that. Up ahead is the Queen's Park Savannah. And in case you're wondering why there's so many cars on there, that particular area is designated as a spot for people to put up a tent and sell food or whatever. Many years ago, such a thing was unheard of and was not allowed at all. The savannah was particularly guarded by the government as a place for no vehicles other than for the grandstand, which would feature panorama or steel pan competition and carnival, and then that was it. And they used to have a horse racing track there too. But since all of that has moved, and people have begun to complain that they can't sell their goods and whatnot, the government stipulated that particular area for them to sell. On the right is Memorial Park, which I feature in other videos. You can look out for them in my channel. So this is day 3, and as you can see, we are starting right back at the northern part of the Queen's Park Savannah. And I'm going to be heading back to Belmont in a different angle. And like I said, covering Belmont is not so simple. So, and because of the one-way route of the savannah, getting to it, you always have to take more or less the same path unless I'm coming from Port of Spain. You kind of see that in this video, and I'm also going to show you on day 4 getting to Belmont from the Lady Young Road. You can see some of the modern architecture on the left. So that part of Belmont on the left, you can see everything is being modernized and stuff, but nothing much is being done for the actual residents in Belmont. So I'm going to go down here, which would be Charlotte Street. Part on the left here is like the blood bank. You have Holy Name Convent on the left there where that car is turning. You have the church. This is the maternity ward here on the left. You have the general hospital on the left. And a new structure they're putting up. On the right is owned by Chinese developers. I don't know if they're going to use it for anything other than having their workers stay there, but that's their place. That building on the right there, the grey, kind of greyish brown building, where the truck is coming out, that they sell food there, curry and pies and different things, pretty good. So this is Charlotte Street. Now, a lot of you have seen videos where I refer to Charlotte as Chinatown. This is not Chinatown. This is Charlotte Street. Chinatown is when you reach all the way by Park Street and you start to go down further into Charlotte Street. That part is designated as Chinatown. But did you know Belmont has the original Chinatown? I bet you did not know that. That's right. In Belmont, there is actually a street called Chinatown, and you're going to see it. As you can tell, there's a lot of traffic here in this particular intersection. On the left is where the blood bank used to be. You'd have seen many of my crazy driving videos featuring this intersection. So this is another way to get into Belmont. You can see the large structure they're building on the left there. That's supposed to be a training hospital as well as a regular hospital for people there. This bridge here and the drain and the fire station is on the left. All this area in particular is sort of has a historic value to it. You could take many of these roads and keep on exploring, especially like that one to the right, and so forth. But again, I wouldn't be able to cover it all, otherwise this video would be like 3-4 hours long. Now all the area on the right has a particular meaning and purpose. You have what is the orphanage, you have schools and so forth. And they have been there for years. I mean, since I was a child, I knew about these areas. Now, if we continued going straight, that would be Norfolk Street. We are turning right into Belmont Circular Road. So that's the school I was talking about, what used to be Belmont Senior Secondary, now St. Francis Boys. And the shape of the building and the look of it looks exactly the same as when I was a child. Imagine that. So hardly any change in infrastructure. I believe the one on the right, that building on the right, would be part of the orphanage. It's another school coming up here. This school, of course, is way more modern. Belmont Boys RC. And because it's more modern, it has better facilities. Again, these roads, this particular road is not that narrow, but still narrow. And as you can see, not in a very good state of repair. Neither are the houses around it. A lot of people will say, oh, these areas are very dangerous, be careful, whatnot. I guess they do have a level of a reputation, and that's not me saying that. I mean, Belmont and areas surrounding it are always in the newspapers for some reason, whether it be theft, murder, burning, shooting, gang warfare, etc. But as you see, I'm driving through it and nobody is holding me up or causing me any trouble. Like anything else, you have to be vigilant and you have to pick your times and seasons for doing anything. Now, you see those steps on the left? That should have been a road, right? But look at how many steps there are. Wow. Just imagine having to climb up that. But a lot of Belmont is like that. Huh? There aren't paths for even a bicycle. It's just steps. And I mean, plenty steps. Again, I don't know what was the thinking when city planners laid roads and stuff for Belmont, but they certainly didn't think about the future. If you know more about it, feel free to comment in the comments area. I'd like to hear what your thoughts if you know about Belmont and the way it was set up. Again, like I said, Belmont started out as a prestigious area for the well-to-do. So some of these roads go and go and go and you begin to wonder, wow, when is it going to stop? This particular piece of road here is very steep. It may be hard to tell, but you can see how the road is pointing, the vehicle and the camera is pointing up to give you an idea of just how steep it is. And you're going to see a lot like that later in this video. I'm sort of going this direction mostly to give that car coming down there a chance to pass, but I realize he's just parking. So, as you can see, it's the end of this road. Comes to an end, doesn't just this that path up there just leads to that house, and that's it. So I'm turning around here. That's also what happens with a lot of these roads in Belmont and elsewhere in Trinidad too. Sometimes they don't let you know, okay, this road leads to a dead end or whatever. You kind of have to just discover it on your own. And in addition to that, there isn't a place to turn around. So luckily, there was a driveway there I could have turned. Sometimes that's not always possible. But in going downhill or going down the mountain, you get a better view of how everything looks. Again, for those of you who are abroad, this is what the Caribbean looks like in general. This is how Trinidad looks. It's not all about the ocean and the sea and the nice huts and drinking a coconut with a banana boat or a float or umbrella in it or whatever have you. This is actually how the Caribbean looks like, the kind of vehicles, the way the things are kept and so forth. Very different if you're from Europe or North America or whatever have you. And maybe even different from other areas like Asia, India, or even Africa, because one thing that is notable here is the congestion. You see how all the houses are close together and the walls are right up to the road. There's no room for a pavement or a sidewalk or anything. That's how it is. And that's particularly true with Belmont. So have you lived in Belmont? Did you grow up here? Did you know somebody from here? How does it look for you? Does it look the same? Has it changed a lot? Is it unrecognizable? Feel free to comment in the comments area. Again, stating what you're answering so we can know. The orphanage, I believe, on the left. And now we're back on Belmont Circular Road. That church on the left there, I believe, is a Wesleyan church. It's been there quite a while. Couldn't figure out what this guy was doing, if he was turning around, reversing in, or what. So this is going up another part of Belmont. This is St. Francois Valley Road, giving you another look at what Belmont is like from a different road. In my opinion, I mean, even though these different roads look slightly different, they more or less have a common identifier that just lets you know, okay, this is Belmont. You can see that this road is a bit wider than the rest, but everything else more or less looks the same general look of Belmont, where the houses are right up to the road with lots of walls and, you know, colorful houses and stuff. It's a unique aspect of Belmont. Now, as we go further up here, you will start to see a more unique side to Belmont in that I'll be going more into the mountain than I did before, almost reaching to Lavantil. And as the further up you go, it gets a little more green, I guess. And the houses aren't as pinned against the road as you see lower down on the flat. They tend to have a little space, like you see how that structure is on the left. Nevertheless, infrastructure again is severely lacking, and I can only imagine that if the people on the flat have a bad water supply, the people on the hills probably even have a harder time getting a water supply. If you're aware of it, feel free to comment, let me know. One thing that the people on the mountain and hills have is a great view of Port of Spain. Maybe on the way back down you will be able to catch some of it. Now, to show you again how narrow the roads are here, I had to stop here because up ahead, which you can't see yet, is a tow truck trying to pull a vehicle on board its flatbed. And it's trying to navigate and turn around, and I'm just waiting on it. And these couple of fellas here are acting like street guides, letting me know. So that was helpful because if I went straight up there and ended up not being able to get past the tow truck, um, what would have happened would be I would have had to reverse back down here. So these guys were helpful in that regard. Alright, it wasn't a flatbed, it was a he was towing him from behind, right? That was why it was even more difficult. I can't imagine trying to tow a vehicle from these narrow roads. It's a lot of pressure. In case you're wondering, people here are generally helpful like that. Trinis will tend to help you and navigate for you on the road. Other countries, you may not see that. People will just watch you or just ignore you and keep on going. But here they will try to help you on your road, or they see a situation like that, they will try to direct traffic. That's normal Caribbean culture. So we're going up the mountain here. We're getting high up. And the higher we go, things change a bit, as you can see. Like I said, not everything is close together. So with a space. But here's the original Chinatown. For those of you who did not know, you all, for some reason, a lot of Trinis are getting all angry with Charlotte Street having part of it named Chinatown. But here is actually the original Chinatown in Belmont. And it is quite a drive to go up here. It's steep, and there wasn't much of anything as far as being able to turn around. So at some point, I am going to try to do just that before I get trapped with my vehicle, because trying to turn around with this frontier on narrow roads is not easy. And when you see vehicles like that, and okay, right, it comes to an end, bam, nowhere really to go. Some steps up there. Again, it's very hard to park or find your way around here. I guess the biggest incentive for people here is their proximity to Port of Spain. But again, if you're living all the way up here and you don't have a vehicle, Port of Spain will not be that close for you. You will still have a lot of walking to do. And on your way back, it will be very difficult if you have to come up these mountains. So going back down, you can see all the houses on the mountains and the hills. You can see everything below, how it looks from that different angle. So this is the original Chinatown. I wonder why it was called that. I don't see any design or symbols of anything resembling a quote-unquote Chinatown, but maybe you can tell me in the comments if you know the history behind it. So as I turn here, you can see Port of Spain below, up ahead, and you can see how high up we are. Because sometimes it doesn't look like that when you're driving, right? But we are pretty high up. And don't worry, I'm going to come in another day too and go even further up. Via one of the other streets. But as you can see, I'm trying to stay more or less to the more popular roads, the more traversed main roads in Belmont. But there are lots of side streets that you could take. But again, if I was to go down there, that would be really problematic again, because sometimes taking those side streets means going up a hill or down a hill. And it's not just a regular hill, it'll be steep, there'll be lots of potholes, and most of all, there would be no place to turn around. And you see that turn around bit? That's the part where I don't want to be in, having that trouble of turning around. And because of that, I figure, I'll just stick to the main roads. You could see an example of that if you saw my Pity Valley video. If you saw it, there's a part where I go up in, I believe is that road by the Pity Valley Hospital. This escapes my mind right now. But in that video, I went all the way up and reached a dead end, and it was on a steep part of the mountain, and there was literally no place to turn around. And I had to just reverse on that steep path of the road, and it was a nightmare. You can actually see it in the Pity Valley video. I was surprised that tow truck was able to pass there. Now looking at all these houses and stuff here as we drive by, these are the kind of houses you'll see pictured a lot in artistic paintings and representations of quote unquote old Trinidad. That's a TNTech truck, a electricity truck just passing us there. And this is the main intersection I told you about that kind of takes you to different places in Belmont. It's kind of like the main Lyman spot in Belmont. It's Belmont Circular Road. And as you can see, always trash, somewhere trash. At least the trash in this section here is in bags, but it's just all over, plentiful. It needs to be taken care of. So up ahead would be the orphanage. The Wesleyan Church is on the right. And we're just going to spin up here and take a look. This is Belmont Terrace. Still another road that comes to end quickly. Maybe you lived here or once lived here or still live here. And so it would bring back some kind of memory for you. These apartments here would be government built and designed. They seem to be in good repair. And we turn around here. No further path to go. To change my battery or do something to the camera. Then we continue. Again, in going back down, you can see a bit of porous paint ahead. All the buildings that are being erected. You get a good view of the church there. I don't think we have many Wesleyan churches. I mean, I know they are in Trinidad, but I don't see plenty of them. So we're going to continue here in another direction, going out of Belmont. Some of you will always be asking me when was this video taken and whatnot. This was taken around, I would say, May 2023. But I can honestly tell you how it looks now is exactly how it is today. Development and changes and stuff go at a very slow pace. So what you see now is just how it is right now. So we're going up Hermitage Road. And we're going to explore this part of Belmont. This road is a bit wider than the rest. But you know, when people park on the road, it doesn't help any. It sort of makes it a one-way. Some of that cannot be avoided because, like I said, the way Belmont is designed, some of these houses, buildings, etc., just don't have a place to put a car or an extra car. So you have to park on the road. Look at that wooden house on the right. Now that is really way back when. And I just like to, I kind of slow down to observe it because, you know, you don't see houses like that anymore, built totally from wood. Everything now is concrete and steel. So when I do see one, I always try to slow down and take a look at it. Some of these roads up here are a bit tricky too, because they could be one way, and because they don't allow for two-way traffic, it's you kind of hoping nobody is blocking anywhere where you can't exit. Like for instance, this situation, he would have that vehicle stops there so that I can come up and kind of turn into this road so that he can get past. And that's how it is driving here in Belmont and a lot of these roads. Luckily, the time that I came up here, there wasn't a lot of traffic, but I can only imagine in other times it might be really hard to get around Belmont. And as you can see, it's all steep. And the higher we go, the less people about, the less traffic, right? That's one of the advantages of living on a mountain, even in an area like Belmont. Not always the case, but more or less. Now, on this particular street, there were a lot of huge retaining walls on Zal's Hill. And you can get a good view of Port of Spain, the Savannah, and so forth from up here too. When I was growing up, here was not so built up. I mean, Belmont has always been, lots of houses and stuff, but it's really more concentrated now, more than ever. But before you could come up like here in Gonzal Hill and see a lot more of Port of Spain, but now a lot of the view is being blocked by other buildings. You have a recreation ground there, basketball court. I like the look of that church on the right there. Don't know if it has any historical value, but the design of it was interesting. Usually when you have to build on a mountainside or something, engineering really has to come into play. And sometimes I like to see what they do to make it happen. I was I was surprised that that vehicle passed there so easily. Look at how the other one stopped. He must be really accustomed to traversing here, but I was surprised when he was just coming down anyway. So you see, you could go on and on and on. But I didn't want to continue too far up because if I did, I would be going out of Belmont and into Lavantil. And this video is not covering Lavantil. So I decided to turn around. In so doing, you could see some of the structures. The way the country is, the way everything is developed or not developed, as the case may be. Wow, look at that truck. Where is he going to pass? I tried to get all the way to the side of the drain. Hmm. He was just like one spray paint away from getting close to my truck. Let's pull the spin ahead. You can actually see the ocean from here too. Like I said, with Gonzales Hill, you used to get some really nice views, but it's so built up now that you could hardly see anything anymore. And as you're going down here, you're hoping nobody is coming up so you could drive freely. Otherwise, you'll constantly have to be pulling to the side to let cars go by. But there's a good view of Port of Spain right there. It's a bit misty today, Saharan dust. The road on the left is where we came up. I'm going to go straight. And in so doing, you'll be able to see just how narrow a road can get. Sometimes these roads in Belmont can fool you. It starts out wide and then continually gets narrow to the point that you you can't even do anything. Not even a bicycle could probably pass there. You'll see an example of that right now. Really, this main road goes straight, huh? But look at that. With that car parked there, there is no way I can pass there. So, in order for me to exit here, I would have to reverse and turn right. And in so doing, you'll see this road is also narrow. And I don't know, I have always been one that I just never like to park my vehicle on the public roads because doing that makes your vehicle susceptible to anybody that passes on that public road. So, and I mean, yes, theft is one thing, but it could be as simple as people passing, they lean on your vehicle, they scratch your vehicle, a car could pass by, hit your mirror, dent you a bit and keep on going. Those things happen more often than you may think, huh? What happens is a lot of people don't notice that it happens to their vehicle until they may be washing it or whatever, and then they start saying, well, where that scratch came from or where that dent came from. And it really might have been just that you parked it somewhere that gave people a lot of access to your vehicle and caused those um, indentations or scratches or whatever have you. But again, like I said, Belmont, sometimes you just don't have a choice. You have to park on the road. There's nowhere to park your vehicle. By the way, I've created a membership section in my channel. I'm seeing how it goes. In the membership section, I'll be putting videos where they are not available to the general public. So people who want to join the membership could see those extra special videos, more personable videos. Plus, there are certain perks like you will have access to certain videos before everybody else. And if you see them before everybody else, then they will be ad free. So you won't have to worry about ads. And also, you get certain other things like a star by your name to show that you're one of the fans of JB's Man Cave. You'll have access to emoticons that nobody else have, and certain other things depending on the membership that you take. Now, if I continue down this road, this will take me to Charlotte Street, heading to Park Street, and by where the Maxis, the Pity Valley Maxis. But I'm going to turn right here, and this would be the health center on your left, and is this apartment buildings, which is quite known. It's a government housing. There's a church on the right, and that cross street there would be Charlotte Street. So we wait for the traffic light, and I'll be turning right onto Charlotte Street, going up that direction so you can see where we came. And that would end day 3. And then we'll go to day 4, which would take us to Lady Young Road. And from Lady Young Road, we will go down Belmont in a way that people not familiar would have never known they could access Belmont. Because a lot of people think the way you access Belmont is through the flats by the savannah. But not so. You can also get to Belmont by the Lady Young Road. So that's the General Hospital on the right. Um, and we're going on around Memorial Park. That maxi in front of us would be going to Pity Valley. They refer to them as yellow band maxis because they have a yellow band that goes around them. The building ahead is the National Museum. It's under renovation. It's supposed to take a whole year to renovate it. Ahead would be the savannah. We are pointing north at the moment. It's a snow cone cart. That's the new Ministry of Health, which is blocking the view of Belmont. Alright, so this is day 4. We're on Lady Young Road. And if I went straight, I would eventually go to the savannah. But I'm turning left here. Now, long ago, before this road was paved like it is, it used to be more or less a dirt road. And I believe over time they have kind of graded it. But it used to be that it was very steep. You see, when I just turned off Lady Young Road, you would literally feel like it was going on a roller coaster. But it seems like they have graded it a bit so it's not such a steep decline. So this is one way you can get to Belmont. If, for instance, you wanted to avoid traffic on the Lady Young Road, which it has from time to time, you could try going down here. But you go down here at your own risk. And why I say your own risk, because again, with Belmont, the roads are very narrow. So if everybody else is having the bright idea that, you know what, I want to escape traffic on the Lady Young Road, and they come in here, you might find yourself even more in a congested situation. And you'll see why. The roads are very narrow, and you can't really tell if a vehicle is coming towards you or not. So this little part here is a bit wider. I mean, you will be able to pull aside for a car to come, but as you can see, the drains are exposed. So if you make a wrong move, you're in trouble there. And the lower down you get, the more you will see that it's a bit tight. And again, you have vehicles on the road, so what happens is you have to end up stopping to let them pass. Of course, the road itself is in disrepair. See, this is what I'm talking about. You kind of have to go slow because look at this situation right here again. There's no way for us to drive by because you have cars parked, the road is narrow, and so forth. A lot of places in Trinidad is like this too. Huh? It's not unique to Belmont. It's just that Belmont just seems to have extra small roads, extra narrow roads. So what do you think about Belmont? Could you live here? Would you buy property here? Did you once live here? Feel free to tell me in the comments area. Tell me what you think. I know a lot of you have had some sort of history with here because, like I said, Belmont was one of the first communities in the history of Trinidad, and a lot of people came out of here working, going into Port of Spain, adding productivity to the island, and then they would return home. So your grandparents may have come from here, your relatives or whomever, your boss. So whatever connection you have to Belmont, you can always let me know in the comments area. Some of your grandparents might still be living here. Feel free to say your piece, share information. I always like to read people's comments when they talk about historic parts of Trinidad and how it used to be. It adds flavor to the video, and it also I don't want to say the word vindicates, but backs up a lot of what I say. So you don't just think it's me just inventing stuff, but it's how it used to be. Because while I'm over the hill, there are a lot of people way older than me that have memories going way back. Also, tell me what you think about Belmont now and what's going on with the crime situation and how everything is. What do you think about it? This particular part right here, there's always a lot of crime here. Don't know why. Shootings and stuff, which is unfortunate because, there are a lot of schools here and a lot of children around and stuff. Some of the more older colonial designs can also be seen in this part of Belmont, especially with the schools. I have come down this road before in the beginnings of this video, but I didn't show you the way out. So this is the way out, and there are no school children around, so I don't have to blur anything much. By the way, you don't have to go all the way around the Queen's Park Savannah in order to get up to the Lady Young Road. They made a turn off right there on the right that you can use to get it, and that's handy. So this is the Queen's Park Savannah. You can only go left to go around it. I hope you enjoyed the trip today around Belmont. Hope it brought some memories. If you appreciated it, make sure to contribute monetarily if you can. You can use YouTube, but they take a huge chunk out of it. If you really want me to get your donation, go to jbsmancave.com or jbo.com and hit the donation button. That way I can receive most of your donation. I really appreciate you watching. Thanks so much for being part of JB's Man Cave.